Okay, here we are coming up on Folsom Reservoir on June 30th, and Folsom holds about 977,000 acre feet when it's full. It's currently at about 430,000, and it's dropping at a rate of about 1.5 feet or 1.4 billion gallons per day. So by the end of the summer, in about 2.5 short months, the reservoir is going to be at a record low level of around 120,000 acre feet or less. And if things get really bad, it could be down even lower. And if this drought continues much longer, we could be seeing a situation where Folsom could actually go dry and become just a river again right through here.
All of California's anadromous fish are taking tremendous hits during this record, going on 4 years now, California drought. But nowhere right now is the situation more dire than in the Central Valley of California. Central Valley is drained by the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers, which flow out under the Golden Gate Bridge. Right now, our anadromous salmonids, our two primary species, Chinook salmon and steelhead trout, are on the verge of an environmental disaster that is unprecedented. Let's take a few minutes to find out how and why this is about to occur. We set ourselves up for this looming salmonid disaster by a dam building orgy that we went on roughly 50 to 75 years ago. That's when our largest hydropower and water storage reservoirs were built. By the time all these dams were finished, 80 to 95% of historic anadromous fish rearing and spawning habitat was gone, inundated, destroyed, or blocked by the dams. We could have built fish ladders or instituted other ways to let the fish traverse the dams, but we didn't do that. The experts of that era promised us that man could take care of salmonid production just fine and more efficiently using hatcheries. And so for decades, hatcheries became our preferred and primary form of mitigation. And it almost worked. In fact, it did work pretty well for quite a while. But the Grand Hatchery Mitigation Scheme had fatal flaws. For one, we didn't understand at that time all the detrimental effects massive hatchery production would have on remaining naturally produced fish. Now that those naturally produced fish are mostly gone from many streams with hatcheries, we're starting to get it. Another flaw was putting so many hatcheries at low elevations where the cold water required to sustain them would have to come from behind nearby dams. And those dams would have to deliver the water reliably. Now we're realizing the hit that hatchery production takes when the cold water spigots from these nearby dams start running dry. And lastly, we vastly underestimated how thirsty agriculture would become in a half century, and how a few back-to-back years of drought would so decimate our water supplies. Now in its fourth year, the present mega drought was really a tipping point. Plus, if last winter's meager precipitation wasn't bad enough, the almost complete lack of mountain snowpack added an exclamation point to our unpreparedness. Last year, 95% of juvenile winter-run Chinook salmon perished in low, warm flows. This was the second bad year in a row for the winter-run and endangered species. For this species, it can be 3 strikes and you're out. The third strike may be just around the corner. Of course, resource agencies are taking unprecedented drought mitigation steps. For example, this spring, for the first time ever, they trucked all 30 million hatchery-produced salmon and steelhead smolts to sea. Otherwise, most would have perished in low, warm rivers. The effort took 22 days, 240 truckloads, and $500,000. But the worst may be still to come. The next crops of adult salmon and steelhead are heading home from the sea right now. When they arrive, many will find their hatcheries locked and shuttered, awaiting cooler waters and improved flows. Just how bad the next few months are about to get for Central Valley salmon and steelhead is anybody's guess. It's all up to Mother Nature now. If she continues withholding precipitation, it could be game over for some runs of our fish. The house of cards we built of salmonid hatcheries will start tumbling down. On the other hand, there's reason for hope. A strong El Niño is brewing over equatorial waters. This is predicted to intensify, and that could equate with copious, perhaps even epic, precipitation over California this winter. Wouldn't it be an ironic end to this drought if our near-empty reservoirs ended up saving us from El Niño-driven floods of biblical proportion? Stay tuned. Only time is going to tell. We should know where this ball game is headed by about Christmas.